we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Saturday night. Welcome to another live episode of Vikings Uncensored. A little later than normal due to some work schedules tonight, but we are here, we are live, and we are ready for the border battle this week as the Minnesota Vikings travel to the land of smelly cheese and stale beer and whatever all else, bratwursts and all that kind of stuff. Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers Sunday at noon on CBS again for the.
It is indeed.
I think, was it 3 of the 4 games have been on CBS so far this year?
Yeah, it's weird. I'm used to Fox.
Yeah. Norsefius, good evening. Drew, good evening. Everybody in the chat, good evening. Although with CBS, we do get the good announcing crew again. We get Kevin Harlan and Trent Green this weekend, so that's I'll take them. I love Kevin Harlan. He's been
he's
hell of an announcer for a long time. So, but before we get into all that, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here tonight. A couple of news items that we want to hit first, and then we'll give Brunswick a chance to give his recap of the Houston Texans game as he was there watching it live. So he can give us a full fill of that. Then we will, of course, move into the preview of this weekend's matchup with Green Bay and hit the prediction section at the end of the show, as always. So with that, let's roll into the news and get that out of the way. Nothing really great as far as the news goes. It's kind of all down stuff. Start off with New York Giants wide receiver Malik Nabers suffering a concussion in the game Thursday night against Dallas Cowboys. Have not heard anything more about that since then. But
he's been rolling pretty good though, his rookie year.
Yeah, he has. I mean, we all kind of figure that Nabers was the real deal when he got drafted, but and he's been showing out pretty well, especially with with Daniel Jones throwing the ball. But
Nabers is about the best thing that the Giants have going for him right now.
Oh, absolutely. Andy, good evening. Please beat the Packers. We are going to try our best. For those of you who don't know, check out Andy on his podcast. I'm a regular visitor on his Wednesday night shows, kind of an NFC roundtable, Frozen 4 podcast. Make sure you check that out. But yeah, seeing in some of the chat here, Drew and Norris just bringing up. So let's go into that. Some bad news. Tommy Kramer, legendary Vikings quarterback, wearing his jersey tonight. He announced this week that he has been diagnosed with dementia. He said the doctors told him he had anywhere from 2 to 10 years, depending upon how things go. He's known about it for a little while, I guess, but just decided to come public with it now.
Right.
Part of the reason why he quit drinking a year or so ago was because of this.
Yep.
And, doing a lot of stuff to try to to stave it off as long as possible. I mean, I was freaking crushed when I heard this week. I mean, Tommy Kramer was my first favorite player. I mean, you all know how much I love Tommy Kramer. You know, you look in the back, I've got signed memorabilia. I've met the man multiple times. Salt of the earth, great guy, does so much for the fans.
Great guy, hell of a guy.
You know, he did a shout out for us here a couple of years ago. You know, I just really sad. I mean, you know, they haven't said that it's tied back to his playing days, but you know, with the number of concussions that he had and things like that, it's, you know, he said, you know, the NFL, you know, for a lot of these old players, there is no retirement type stuff or anything like that. Now he said that, you know, the NFL said that they will try to help with some of the medical stuff that goes on. The NFL is a $1 billion industry. They can try harder.
Yeah, they absolutely can.
But yeah, so, you know, all of Vikings Nation's thoughts and prayers go out to Tommy Kramer on this. It's, you know, hoping that he can fight, you know, he can fight this off as long as possible and keep doing what he does, you know, for the fans, for himself, and all this. You know, he's one of a kind, and you know, wish him nothing but the best. Absolutely, Andy. Sad when these players either watching or they start having health issues and pass away. Sports rivalries don't matter when it comes to this. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Then also, since we're on the topic and it being Border Battle Week, one of the most prominent names, actually playing on both sides for for a couple of years, even Brett Favre also announcing earlier this week that he has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. There again, you know, potentially tied to the number of hits, concussions, all that stuff that he took.
I mean, he's been quoted as playing with concussions and continuing to go throughout games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what is he, 50, 56, something like that now, 54, something right in that range. But
right in that range, yeah.
He's said straight out that there are days when he's already at the point where he can't remember names, you know, important stuff that, you know, that happened, things like that. So it's, you know, these guys that from that, you know, from the eras back, especially, I mean, we've been seeing it move along, you know, the guys 80s and the 90s, things like that. You know, it's starting to hit these guys hard, and you know,
and it's affecting the game in a positive way, I believe. I mean, as far as having the bad to show what the game, absolutely agree, Drew. But with the history now and the medical and all that, I believe, you know, the NFL's taking the right steps as far as safety and player concern goes.
Yeah. You know, we're talking about stuff from these guys that played, you know, 10 to 30 years ago. But, you know, and then you look at guys, you know, today, like Tua, for example, who's had 4 concussions in the last 2 seasons. You know, it's a dangerous sport. Everybody knows that going in. We all know that. Skull for life. Good evening, Ant. Good evening, Reg. Good evening. But yeah, it's you know, it's a thing, and it's kind of hopefully that they can, you know, make more steps to help make this safer for the guys that are playing now. And please, for the love of God, NFL, help these guys out that help make this sport the way it is. The Tommy Kramers, the Brett Favres, all these guys
that are having their bodies affected by years and years of play in a gritty, harder NFL.
Yep. The guys that played back in the 70s, there's a ton of them, you know, a lot of them have died early because of this, but there's a lot of other ones, 70s, 80s, 90s, all those guys that are still around that need some help, and the NFL needs to step up and help them. So, but that's enough on the sad downside. We got a big week here. We got to be pumped up. We got to be fired up.
I'm pumped up, man. I've been counting down the hours since last week.
Absolutely. But before we get into that Green Bay Packer matchup for this week, the Purple Jesus himself over here, Mr. Brunswick, was at the game against the Houston Texans last week at US Bank Stadium. So we're going to give him a chance to wrap it up, give us a recap on how it was actually at the stadium, and his thoughts quick before we move on. So the floor is yours, Mr. Brunswick.
A huge shout out to the Barbecue Smokehouse King, Reggie Adams, right here. That's how I was able to go. Hooked me up with his badass Ivan Pace Jr. jersey. It was a great experience. That out of the 3 games I've been to in the last 2 years, that was the most electrifying crowd I have been a part of. I believe we broke the record for decibels for loudness in US Bank Stadium last week. The way we were able to take away one drive, just the crowd alone, how it affected that game, that drive when they had, 3 false start penalties and an illegal shift.
Yeah, there are four procedure penalties in a row. The fourth one that they declined because it was 4th down. But
it was that crowd just got louder and louder each time that flag got thrown, and eventually I was like mind blown because I haven't seen that, out of a home crowd. I don't think ever, where we basically took away that drive. CJ Stroud was just not himself whatsoever, and that's a huge credit to Brian Flores. I mean, he had 1 touchdown, 2 picks, was 20 of 31 for 215 yards, but the majority of those yards came towards the end of the game when our backups were going in. What a hell of a game. This defense is probably the best defense I've witnessed as a Vikings fan. Coming out the gate for the first 3 weeks anyways.
Yeah.
And then we got Darnold just slipping into that quarterback role and continuing to prove his worth to this league. And it's just been amazing. It's been a great ride. Hopefully it carries over to this weekend in Green Bay.
Yeah, it's, that game was never seriously in doubt. Just like honestly, the first 3 games have kind of all felt that way.
Well schemed.
Yeah.
Well schemed, all 3 games. This last one, though, man, was a gem. I think Grenard had, 3 sacks?
Mm-hmm.
1 player of the week, defensive player of the week. It was
well on that first sack. He took it personally when they tried to block him with a tight end. So he,
yeah, rightfully so.
So yeah, he mentioned that. I think it was, I forget if it was Audra Martin or if it was Ben Lieber that was interviewing him after the game, and he kind of mentioned that at one point in time. So kind of gave him a little bit extra fire for the game, I think, as if he needed any more going against his old team anyway. But
hell of a game.
Yep. All right, so put a nice little bow on that Houston Texans win, and now let's look on to the task at hand this week, the most important game of the week. The Minnesota Vikings traveling to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. Again, lucking out this year, not having to go to Lambeau in December, kind of nice, so we'll take that. Of course, the big talk all week is who is going to be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers this week. Will it be Malik Willis? Will it be Jordan Love? Checking out the Twitters and everything this week, this afternoon, Jordan Love will be active for the game. They have not said whether or not he's going to start yet.
I've heard speculation that it's going to be both.
I've heard that as well. I think it's Diana Rossini, I believe, posted something to that effect on Twitter X here earlier today. So yeah, I don't know who gets the start. Is it going to, or is it going to be certain packages for each one of them? Either way, I believe Flores. I mean, I don't really either. You have Jordan Love, who's not going to be 100%. I don't care what the hell you say. He's not going to be 100%.
They're idiots for throwing him out there.
Against this defense, I agree. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Vikings fan. I am saying that because coming back, missing 2 weeks with a sprained MCL, there's no way he's 100%. I mean, is he 75, 80%? Maybe. But
you don't throw him out there against this defense.
No, I don't think so either. And I mean, that just tells me right there that they don't have faith in having Malik Willis go out there and win them a game against a formidable opponent.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. They've beaten Indianapolis and Tennessee in the past 2 weeks, who are two teams that right now are looking at picking very high in the draft next offseason.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that Tennessee is a dumpster fire and Will Levis is, pouring the gas on the dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Indianapolis kind of surprises me a little bit. I figured they were going to be better than this, but they did beat Chicago this weekend, or last weekend. So we'll take that a little bit of help, but yeah. So on the Green Bay Packers injury list, of course, Jordan Love is still listed as questionable. Linebacker Devondre Wyatt added to the injury list on Thursday with a shoulder as a limited participant. Kind of a key thing there if he doesn't play. Then also cornerbacks Jaire Alexander and Carrington Valentine, both limited on Thursday and Friday as well.
I don't think Alexander practiced on Friday.
No, he didn't. Yeah, he was limited on Thursday. I don't think he didn't practice at all on Friday, I think.
Right.
So, he's been out there spouting his yap all freaking week about covering Justin Jefferson. Now, all of a sudden, he's at the point where he's questionable whether or not he's going to play. So,
when we go and we win this game, there's going to be that talk, the chatter in the background. Well, you played Jordan Love and he wasn't fully, he wasn't ready to go. Or, you played Malik Willis, or Jaire Alexander wasn't out there. So,
well, when it boils down to it, it doesn't matter.
No,
because provided the Vikings go out and beat Green Bay on Sunday, the Packer fans are going to have an excuse as to why it happened. They could be everybody at 100% full strength and the refs did it. Or, the sun got in Jordan Love's eyes when he threw that interception, or, the solar flares disrupted the communications between LaFleur and Love on, and they had a delay of game that knocked him out of field goal range or some fucking stupid stuff like that. There's always excuses. But for the Vikings injury report, some fairly good news. And then one notable, Ivan Pace has been ruled out for a second week in a row. But yeah, Camus Grugier-Hill last week played a phenomenal game and will get to start again this weekend.
Absolutely. What a game. What a game for Grugier-Hill.
So, we have that. On the injury report on Friday, the final one, Jordan Addison, Sam Darnold, Dallas Turner, and Christian Darrisaw all removed from the injury report. Yep. So all will be good to go.
That's what I was getting at right there. Return of Jordan Addison. And then the only one we got left that we're waiting on is Hawkinson. I mean.
Yeah, and after this game, I think the window can open for Hawkinson to return to practice.
Yep.
So I doubt we see him next week against the Jets in London, but I would say more likely scenario would be a Lions game coming off the bye week. Yeah, that is what I would guess. But then they also announced a couple of do the same thing. A couple of elevations. Edge rusher Bo Richter and tight end Robert Tonyan, both elevated off the practice squad for this game tomorrow. I don't know that either one of them played last week. They were both elevated last week as well, but
I think Richter might have got in on some special teams.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he played any on actual defense, but of course we talked about Jaire Alexander here a couple minutes ago. He's been out there spouting off all week long about how he's going to shut down Justin Jefferson, all this and everything else, and trying to get into Jefferson's head. And Jets, to his credit, the other day, he said, I don't really think about this too much. It seems like it's way more important to him than it is to me. So
yeah, it took the high road for sure. And I mean, kudos to Jefferson. I love to hear it. I love the way he approached that situation.
Of course, everybody's completely ignoring the fact that it was Jordan Addison last year that made Jaire Alexander his bitch in 2 different games. So, and with Addison back at full strength now, and what Jalen Naylor has been doing the first 3 weeks, that bodes extremely well for this team. Going at full song at the wide receiver core this week. So
I believe the best version of this team, and this is scary to say, but will be here after the bye week. I think that's when you're going to see the best version of this team.
Yeah, I would agree. It may take Hawkinson a week or 2 to get back into the swing of things, and he hasn't been able to develop that chemistry with Darnold yet. But
going down the stretch, though, hopefully keeping the guys that need to stay healthy is going to work well in our behalf.
Oh, absolutely. And that this first 6-7 games has been considered the gauntlet of our schedule. We've already played 2 preseason Super Bowl favorites in the San Francisco 49ers and the Houston Texans.
Those last 3 games of our schedule are going to be huge coming towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no game more important than the one right in front of us, though. Green Bay, a chance for the Vikings to go to 4-0, knock the Packers back to 2-2, and open up a little bit of breathing room on the NFC North. Of course, the 2 other ones going on this week as well that aren't small-time games either, which we'll talk about those in a little bit. Great point, Drew. We need Hawkinson. Vikings have shown nothing at TE. Yeah, we had that one nice catch by Johnny Munt in triple coverage.
I was just going to hit on that. Outside of that Johnny Munt touchdown, which was a great catch by Johnny Munt.
It was
to get that touchdown last week. There really hasn't been much out of the tight end, and thankfully we haven't needed it. But
Aaron Jones has taken over a lot of that.
Yeah.
That underneath stuff and the kind of security blanket type thing that Hawkinson was for the last couple of years. So, bringing Hawkinson back in and then still having Aaron Jones, to complement it, I think is going to. Oliver did have a great catch. Norris Fias, yep, you're right on that one.
I love, though, speaking on the underneath stuff, it's very refreshing watching a quarterback take the deeper intermediate throws on a more consistent basis, checking it down, maybe taking a shot down the field here and there. Not going to name the quarterback, but we all know. But it's very refreshing seeing Darnold go through his progressions and hitting the open guy on those intermediate routes or down the seam instead of just going right to the check down.
Yep.
And then the movement throughout the pocket and the poise by Darnold has been refreshing as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been multiple times when Darnold has broke out of the pocket and made something happen, gone off schedule and got out, either tucked it and ran he's done that a few times, or, able to get out there and get the ball dumped off to somebody.
Touchdown last weekend against Houston with Jefferson there to kick it off.
Yep. Now we just have to get him to stop making that one dumb Sam Darnold play a game. That one again last week, they tried to do that pitch back to Powell that could have been disastrous. But to Brandon Powell's credit,
that was some
able to pick
Australian
it up
football right there.
Able to pick it up and I think he got a 7-yard gain out of what was probably
he ended up picking up
a 12-yard
the first
loss.
down for us that time.
Yep.
Yeah, he picked up the first down. It was some Australian style football going on out there for a second.
Yeah.
So
if we can just get away from those and stay with the good plays, I think we're in good shape. Another big talker for this week, Aaron Jones in his return to Lambeau Field in a different uniform for the first time. He can say all he wants, that it's, just like every player does when they go back to their old team for the first time, it's just another game. It's just no, it means something a little bit more because the Packers showed him the door unceremoniously just to bring in Josh Jacobs. And he's going to have that extra chip on his shoulder. He's going to have that little extra, like Jonathan Grenard did last week against the Texans. Jones is going to have a little extra, I think, this week. Norris, that the interception, I wasn't talking about that. There was another one where he tried to cut 2 weeks ago where he tried to do that toss back over the top of somebody and almost resulted in a Lance has a fan.
Thank you.
But yeah, and Aaron Jones has already said if he does score a touchdown this week, which I predict that he will he's going to look for some Vikings fans down in the end zone and go do a Lambeau leap, he said, just or as he calls it, the bank vault that he was going to do last week, and rumors were that he forgot about it when it came down to it, and he did his other celebration
on the
instead.
sideline.
So
if you watch the field access, you'll see that.
Yeah,
he forgot to do the bank vault.
Yeah, he'll have more opportunities hopefully here soon. So,
speaking of the run game,
yeah,
I believe that's what Green Bay is going to try to establish right away this game.
Oh, no matter which quarterback is out there.
Yep, that's going to be number one thing on this list is Green Bay trying to establish the run. And I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, I mean, they know. I mean, that's what Green Bay's done the first 3 weeks. I mean, Skull Mafia, good evening. He can do bank vaults in just a couple hours. Jaire, absolutely. Yeah, they know good and well Green Bay is going to try to run the ball because even if it's Jordan Love out there, quarterback, they're going to try to protect him as much as possible. And that's going to be by running the football. Skull for life, good evening. Jacobs is a good running back. I mean, the defense is going to have to keep that in mind. I think regardless of that, we've seen it the first 3 games already this year. The mad scientist has a bunch of different stuff figured out each week, coming out, throwing up some different stuff. I mean, putting 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage, showing blitz, and then dropping back in cover 2. Or, the delayed blitz is bringing.
No, the thing is that he's got safeties playing corner and corners playing safeties and defensive. Or he's got linebackers playing down on the line and rushing and stunts and twists. I don't think we've seen many stunts or twists last year on this defense, but this defense came out playing like it's week 6 through the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And I mean, this defense has got everyone confused in this league. I mean, prior players that just, aren't in the league anymore are raving about how complex this defense is and how Flores is just mind-fucking offensive coordinators at this moment.
Yeah.
He's got players that know different positions that can plug and play in different. I mean, the chess pieces for Flores are there, and it's showing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. Last year, Flores still had, some holdovers and stuff like that on players. This year, he's got mostly his guys. The people that he wants in there, the guys that are able to play multiple positions, drop back, jump up. Guys like Josh Metellus who play pretty much every freaking
quality depth is going fantastic this year. I mean, we got quality depth at multiple positions that make this defense fresh every play throughout all 4 quarters. And that alone in itself, it exhausts the opposing offense where you just have them begging. You have them at will, basically.
All right. I want to comment on Drew's question here. He said, the Packers have only allowed 5 sacks this season. Vikings lead the NFL in sacks. Which team wins this battle? Part of the reason why they've only allowed 5 sacks is in the last 2 games, they've had Malik Willis attempt, I believe, 14 and 19 or 14 and 21 passes is all he's attempted. Hard to get sacks when your quarterback's never dropping back to throw the ball.
Right. That's big. That's huge. Yeah.
I think that is more the reason why they only have 5 sacks this year than the fact that their offensive line is amazing. I mean, they have a decent offensive line, but
with that, we might not get 5 sacks this weekend, but I'm going to tell you what, we're going to be causing a lot of chaos in that backfield regardless. It might not be the sacks, but it might be the pressures, the hurries, the tackles for losses.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what this defense is made of.
Right. And if we can keep the run in check, which, other than Jordan Mason, we pretty much have for the year. And Mason, I think, was right at about 100 yards thereabout. But if we can contain that run and force them to pass, that's when you're going to be able to turn these guys loose, when the Van Ginkels and Grenards of the world are going to start eating Dallas Turner back.
Shout out to Quessy.
Oh, absolutely.
That Gilmore and Shaq Griffin pickup right now is looking huge. The experience and knowledge on that defense with those guys taking the field is good. The communication is great right now. And having that extra knowledge and that many years of experience, it's showing. It's showing right now.
Yeah.
And that set the complementary play on the defense and as a team as a whole is just masterclass right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the back end and the front end are working in tandem. It's some of these sacks that they've gotten are coverage sacks because the guys, the Gilmore and Griffin and Murphy and those guys back there are staying on their guys and not letting them get open. And
we had that questionable fumble last year, not last year, but last week, which I believe was a fumble. And
it absolutely was a fumble.
Gilmore picked that up, scooped it up, and damn near took it to the house.
Yeah. I mean, I made the comment on Twitter X when I was watching there, it's 2024 and the NFL still doesn't know what the fuck a catch is. He had that ball. He brought it in, started to make the turn, and Grugier Hill knocked it out of there. That was a fumble.
Right now, our offense is rolling. Our defense is rolling. You know what else? Will Richard is rolling.
Oh, God, yeah.
This team is rolling, is firing on all cylinders, and I believe we might be one of the most dangerous teams in the league.
Yeah. Speaking of Will Richard, do you have a good look at that 58-yarder he kicked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
When he doinked it off the crossbar, it was 3/4 the way up the bar. That kick would have been good from 65 plus.
Yeah.
It may have been good from 70.
Yeah. I mean, right now things are looking really good. Things are rolling.
It absolutely is. And I think
convincing. It's not like fluky. Fluky. This is convincing.
That was the thing.
This defense is doing things that a defense in Minnesota hasn't done since the 70s.
Right. That was the whole thing back in the 2022 season, when the Vikings went 13-4, it's, they're winning all these close games and stuff, but that, it's luck, or it's fluky, or they're frauds, or whatever else. Through the first 3 games of this season, anybody who calls the Minnesota Vikings frauds is just trolling, or they're fucking stupid.
The 55-point differential is second only to the 1975 Minnesota Vikings team.
Mm-hmm. And back to Drew's question about the sacks and stuff, I think I saw something earlier today. If the Vikings are able to get 5 sacks again this week, they would be the first team in NFL history to do it 4 consecutive weeks. I think it's only happened 4 times.
If that doesn't get it, I mean, that's just bulletin board material right there.
Yeah.
That should get that defense pumped. They should be hungry.
Absolutely. And, you talk, or they've talked to some of the guys that have been here forever, Harrison Smith, who's seen and done pretty much everything with this team. He's saying that he can't explain it, but it just feels different this year. Aaron Jones said the same thing. He said he's been on a lot of special teams during his career, and he said this team feels different. It feels like, these guys are going out there. They don't care about the stats. They don't care who gets the tackles, who gets the sacks, who gets the stops, as long as the job gets done.
And it's the system working, and everybody's eating. Like we discussed before the season, Rhino. This is the difference between having a Danielle Hunter and having a complete unit working and clicking together to make those sacks come along.
Oh, and as good as Danielle Hunter was, and no slight at Danielle Hunter, he was a great player here for a long time.
No slight at all whatsoever.
But the play we're getting out of Grenard and Van Ginkel is better than the play we ever got out of Danielle
Patrick
Hunter. Patrick Jones as well. Yep. I mean, he didn't have it, as big of a
all
game.
All these guys
last
are making
week,
splash plays.
Yeah.
So many guys right now on defense are making huge splash plays that dictate the game, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and 2 of the biggest ones are 2 guys that Kwesi brought in here in the offseason, Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel.
Harrison Smith still doing Harrison Smith things.
Yeah, 13th year in the league, and he's still playing at a Pro Bowl level right now.
Elite level this year right now.
Good evening, Jared. Yeah, it's, and, Josh Metellus doing the things that Josh Metellus does, lining up at every freaking position on the field. We mentioned Gilmore and Shaq Griffin a little bit ago. The defensive line, Jerry Tillery had a very good game last week. Didn't show up huge in the stat book, but he was.
You know what? We were questioning that defensive line coming into the year, and they have taken that and completely thrown it out the window and have stepped it up.
Yeah. Harrison
Phillips. A lot of that
Phillips
goes along with the scheme. It's all the moving pieces.
Yep. Harrison Phillips getting his hand on that first the first official pass of the game. They were talking about it on TV, about how CJ Stroud had only threw 5 interceptions last year and hadn't thrown one since week 11 or whatever it was. We got 2 last week.
Right. And what should have been a third.
Yeah. Well, that would have been a fumble, but yeah. I mean, there was a couple other plays though where they were very close to getting it. I think Harrison Smith and Cashman both got close to him.
Oh, I don't think we've seen the end of Gink being a little ninja and getting those little screens. He almost had one like that guy said last week. Another one off a screen.
Yep. Oh, and we've talked about this before, but Andrew Van Ginkel is quickly becoming one of my favorite players on this team right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes out there and just absolutely, he's all over the field.
And it's all technical. He's like the excellence of execution. You know, it's all technical with him. Like, just plant your foot, move, go around on those stunts and those twists. It's just beautiful. It's poetry.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Gink.
But I mean, and how he plays, he's another Metellus. They can line him up pretty much anywhere. Drop him back in coverage if they need to, or send him out one way or the other. The guy.
Jihad Ward's been the quiet storm as well. Shout out to Ward.
He is. They've been using him up on the line a lot of times in obvious passing downs, and we talked about that in preseason as something that they might actually do. Gink needs a mullet. I think we leave the hair the way it is with Gink. It might be like the Samson thing. You don't want to mess with the hair and screw up the game. Good evening, Brian. But anyway, let's go to this. What are your keys for a Vikings victory this weekend against the Cheeseheads?
Contain. When it comes to Malik Willis or Jordan Love, slowing down that run game, keying in on that run game, make Jordan Love and Malik Willis make plays with their arm. I believe Jefferson has a huge game, getting that pass game going. Keep doing what you're doing. The way that this mixing up between plays goes, and it's masterclass. Let's continue to do what you're doing. I think we go in there and we throttle, and just contain.
Yeah, I agree on that. Stopping the run is priority number one, I think. Now, with all this stuff, it's been in the back of my head all week when we've talked about the running game ad nauseum, especially if Jordan Love starts the game. They may come out throwing just to try to catch us off. They're going to expect, the Vikings are going to be keying on the run, and they'll, try hitting, Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson or somebody, deep down the field right off the get-go. So we got to be cognizant of that. We got to make sure we pay attention to that. But again, Flores doing Flores things, getting his guys into position, confusing the shit out of these quarterbacks, especially if it's Malik Willis. I have no faith whatsoever that he's going to be able to figure out the blitz schemes on here.
Doctor.
Nothing special. Play the same way we have. It's been working. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%, Doc. On the offensive side of things, we got to get the run game going as well. I think, this is a black and blue division knock down, drag out fight. Aaron Jones going to be motivated a little bit extra this week. Get that run game going. Keep the time of possession on our side. If you
can do that and your defense is playing the way it is, you're going to win 98% of the games.
Absolutely. And then, we say it every week, win the turnover battle. Kevin O'Connell has not lost a game where this team has either won or been tied in the turnover battle. I think he's 21-0 now.
The unit is third in NFL's modern era to record at least 5 sacks and at least 1 interception in the first 3 games of a season.
Yep.
So keep it going. Get that turnover. Create those turnovers. And the way they've been playing so technically, it's just creating those turnovers. It's almost like, I don't know. I would be really scared if I was an offense going against this defense, because just the way they're so technically sound and what they can do and the way they can create turnovers.
Not Vikings related, but very interesting. I started watching that game and turned it off because it was a complete blowout. Now all of a sudden Georgia has come storming back and actually ahead by 1 point now. Interesting. I'll have to go check that out here when. But yeah, it's Darnold's got to limit the mistakes. Alexander and Xavier McKinley, I think, have got 5 interceptions between the two of them.
McKinley is a guy that is an X factor of this game.
Yep.
For the Green Bay defense.
I mean, he has more interceptions this year so far than passes allowed. I think he's allowed.
He's had 1 each game. He's had at least a pick in it.
He's allowed 2 receptions and has 3 interceptions. So we gotta, be smart with the ball. Don't throw it. Now, again, the Packers have yet to face a wide receiver core, the strength of Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and Speedy Naylor. Protect the ball. Yep. That's the thing. We have to keep Darnold upright, give him time to throw. Let him find the open receivers. And
do not let Kenny Clark beat us.
Yeah, Kenny, that was going to be my other one. Kenny Clark has made life hell for Garrett Bradbury for years. Now, Kenny Clark is having a little bit of a down year. I've heard some people talking that, they're thinking he's starting to get past his prime a little bit.
Just keep beating people up like we have been. We've been the most physical team every single game this year.
Yep. And it showed, over the last 2 years, you start getting into the fourth quarter. That's where this team has started to falter. We haven't done that this year. Even losing the turnover or the time of possession.
Complete games. We're not letting up. We're not letting teams get back into it.
No.
Sometimes you get to halftime and then you come out in the half and you're like, what the fuck? And I haven't had none of those moments yet this year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not let it happen this weekend. But
Right.
a lot of the times, as a Vikings fan, you go into the half, we could be up 20-3, 20-0. And that third quarter rolls around and you're like, what the fuck? How did this just happen?
Yeah, all of a sudden
17-20.
Yeah, or 21-20 or something dumb like that.
Yeah. There have been none of those moments this year.
Yeah. Now I've heard, one thing I have heard, I think Bill Belichick brought this up on some show earlier in the week, talking about the Vikings being as good as they are, but, saying that he wants to see them have to play from behind to see what they can do. And to his point, the Vikings through 3 games have been behind for a grand total of 3 minutes and 26 seconds.
And Sam Darnold's only throwing 2 passes when we've been behind in the game.
Yeah. So I would be perfectly fine with never having to play from behind. Start fast, get out in front, and don't let off the gas. And we don't have to worry about playing from behind. Eventually, we're going to have to at some point in time. But I believe this team is the way Kevin O'Connell has it built. It's built to be able to combat that, those tough times or what.
I believe so. How many games was it, in that people like to call it? We've discussed it earlier this episode, but the fluky year where we came back, where we had that resilience and came back and won games.
Yeah.
So that's there. That's in the DNA.
It is. And it's, if something bad happens, for years, this team would be, an interception would happen. And then all of a sudden the whole game would just go in the toilet because, oh God, here we go. What are we going to do now?
I think a lot of that has to do with the quarterback. It seems like once the quarterback got rattled, then the game just fell apart.
Not even just the quarterback. I think, the coaching had a lot to do with it too. Zimmer was notoriously bad about that. Kevin O'Connell, to his credit, has got the culture and got the stuff going at this team where, we see some adversity and it's like, okay, roll up your sleeves. Let's go take care of this. We're not done yet.
The thing with Zim, and I know that this is just a little tidbit, whatever, but he was apt to letting teams just crawl back into games.
Well, yeah, because he didn't want the offense to go hang 40 on somebody. He wanted them to hang 20 and then let the defense,
roll the
do the rest and win the game 20-13 or 20-17.
I like that, Reggie. I like that take there.
Breakout game for Dallas Turner. I am good with that. I would love to see that.
I think this defense can do great things. I think that is a thing that is up on the board right now. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Great point, Jared. Anything else? Points or key points or anything that you're thinking of here for tomorrow would be leading to a Vikings victory?
I think we nailed it.
Okay. So with that, we are going to move on to the regionally famous, fairly well known and watched by tens and tens of people every week, the predictions segment, where we take a look not only at the Vikings game for the weekend, but we also take a look at all of the games with NFC North implications, looking at the Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings. So with that, we will start off Sunday at noon, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Soldier Field to take on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. What do you think on this one, Brunswick?
I don't believe in the Bears right now. So, I mean, Caleb Williams has. Thanks, Doc. Who did you say they were playing again?
They are playing the Rams.
The Rams. Yeah, the Rams. McVay's not going to lose to that Caleb Williams led offense. That Bears defense is very, very good, though. I will give them that. It's keeping them in. That's what's keeping them in these games. But I need to see. I mean, Caleb Williams had a decent game last game. I mean, compared to what he has been. I don't think I see enough out of Chicago to lead me to believe that they can beat the Rams. So I'm gonna go with the Rams over Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, the Rams are hurting, no Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua, but it hasn't mattered. They took down the San Francisco 49ers last week.
Yep.
Now will there be a little bit of a letdown after that, big division game?
McVay's a hell of a coach.
He is. He absolutely is. And I think he's going to, have the team ready to play. Matt Stafford knows the Bears well. He's played the Bears for years.
Until they get rid of Eberflus over there in Chicago, I have no faith that they're going to cause any type of stir at all.
No. And Caleb Williams threw for 300 yards last week. Big whoop. He also threw, 2 or 3 interceptions. And
against a good team, that's killer right there. You ain't going to be able to even stick in the games.
No. And that was the thing. They played the Colts, and the Colts are a mess for some reason. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't believe in the Bears. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep up with the Rams, even the Rams being, less than 100%. Now, like you said, Chicago's defense is legit, but I do believe that the Rams pull this out. It's probably going to be a fairly close game. It'll be like, 23-17 or something, maybe like that, something like that. But Bears win or Bears lose. On to the next game, Monday Night Football. The undefeated Seattle Super Chickens going to Detroit to take on the Lions. What do you think about that one?
It's going to be a good game. Jared Goff has not looked like Jared Goff has normally looked in the Lions uniform this year. Something's going on there, and that offensive line has not looked like that offensive line in the last couple past years either. There's some leaky holes there. Detroit really hasn't played anybody outside of Kansas City as far as good teams go, I believe. And Seattle is rolling right now, and Geno's got that team scoring points, and that defense is looking great under the new coach over there. Mm-hmm. It's a good Monday night game. I'm going to say that, but I'm going to go Seattle. Jared Goff has not been Jared Goff this year.
Yeah.
And that defensive backfield is a mess right now outside of Brian Branch.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me to call because, again, with Seattle, new coach, new scheme, everything else. Yeah, they're one of the only 3-0 teams right now. Been playing very well. Mike McDonald's got that team playing hard. I haven't watched enough of Seattle yet this year to really get a beat on if they are legit. I mean, they're 3-0. I'm not going to call anybody a fraud like people did with us, when we were, again, back to the 13-4 2 years ago. But yeah, with that, Goff has not looked great this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been
pretty quiet. Jameson Williams has been a surprise.
Yeah. Sam Laporta has been almost non-existent.
Right.
After that huge rookie year he had last year, and all the Detroit fans just, TJ Hawkinson, who, because we've got the next greatest tight end in the NFL and blah, 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 blah. He hasn't done much of anything. Now, to be fair, for some reason or other, the tight end play league wide is way down.
Right.
It's weird. I don't know. I don't
Well,
quite understand it.
The passing game all over has been way down this year.
Yeah,
running backs are going up.
Defenses have had the upper hand this year, and it's been showing. You're looking at most. A year ago, most good quarterbacks were throwing for 350 a game. 3 to 350. Now the good quarterbacks are throwing for 250
to 280.
280. Yeah.
I mean, it ebbs and flows. Maybe the rise of the running back is on the way. Who knows?
Maybe
it ebbs and flows throughout history.
Yep. But with all that being said, like I said, Detroit they've had a hangover this year. I don't know if they're still moping about losing in the NFC Championship game or what it is, but I'm going with Seattle here. Seattle goes to 4-0 and the Lions drop to 2-2. All right. So then the final game, of course, the most important game of the week, noon tomorrow. Again on CBS, Kevin Harlan and Trent Green with the call. The Minnesota Vikings traveling to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. What do you got for score here?
I think that we're going to go and smack Green Bay right upside their fucking heads. And we're going to bend them over our knee and give them a nice little spanking. And I think it's going to be convincingly. I don't want to say it because I don't want to feel like, I'm just being a homer or whatever, but this is the biggest test for Green Bay, in my opinion, this year. I think it's more of a test for them than it is for us. I think we're going to go in there and continue to do what we've been doing the last 3 weeks. But I think we're going to go in there and slap them a little bit. And I look for 27-10, 27-13 type of score.
Okay.
Maybe hit 31.
I'm going to go back to the whole thing of Green Bay hasn't played anybody yet. They lost to Philly, the only quote unquote good team they've played. In that game, Jordan Love did play and didn't look very good.
No, he didn't look very good.
It was in Brazil. It was whatever all else.
Philly really hasn't looked really good. Philly really hasn't looked that good this year either.
No, they haven't.
Philly's getting more credit than they deserve this year.
I think they are too, but
that team does not scare me.
No. But yeah, the last 2 weeks, they have relied almost exclusively on the run against two inferior teams, Indy and Tennessee. Now, with that being said, Green Bay is a solid team. They got a lot of talent over there. I'm not diminishing that whatsoever. But, we made the point earlier, does it matter which quarterback plays tomorrow? I don't think it does. I really don't think it does.
I don't believe so either.
Jordan Love, I predict to see the Jordan Love that we saw in the first game last year, where he looked terrible against Flores' defense.
Our defense was so beat up at the end of last year and is not the same defense that they're going to be facing this year.
No, it wasn't. And at that point in time, the Vikings knew their season was over too. So did that play into the game a little bit? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I look more for an outcome of how the first game against Green Bay was last year. I think it's at least a 2-score game. I think the Vikings go in there. We're going to be tapping at around that 30. I'm going to call it 30-13.
There you go.
So,
and if it all plays out like we said, we'll have a 2-game lead on first place in the division.
With the trip to London in the windshield. There again, we won't get ahead of that, but Vikings have never lost in London. So
I'm getting my tea out next weekend.
yeah, and some fish and chips and some
Tea and crumpets.
yeah, whatever all else you want to call it. But we'll talk about the London game next week after we're hopefully celebrating a Vikings victory here after tomorrow. But with that, we've hit an hour again. So Lance and I were talking, as we always do before the show. If we get 30, 40 minutes out of it tonight, probably be good. And it always ends up being at least an hour.
Always.
Thank you guys in the
some good stuff. Oh, by the way, Norpheus. No, I was at the Houston game last weekend, not San Francisco's.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us in the chat. Some new faces in there this week. Great to see that. Some always the OGs, the familiar faces coming in too. Appreciate the hell out of you guys. Programming notes for next week, of course, Rhinos Rants Monday night, 7 p.m. And then next Friday, Vikings Uncensored Studio Show back at its normal time, 7 p.m. on Friday night. We will be live previewing the bout across the pond against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So make sure you stay tuned in for both of those. And hey, it all comes down to this, ladies and gentlemen: border battle, hate week, whatever you want to call it. The first division game of the season. Let's go into Green Bay. Let's grate the cheese. Let's kick their ass. Let's do whatever we need to do to come home with a victory, whether it be a 20-point victory or a 2-point victory. As long as it's a win, that's all I care about. With that, thank you guys again for joining us. Shout out to the Filipino fan club. As always, I know they're watching. And why don't you take us home, Lance?
If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Like the video. A lot of you watch, don't like the video. That helps out a lot. Hit the like button for us. And as well, follow us on all your social media at Vikings Uncensored. Like I said, we go in there tomorrow, I believe thoroughly that we're going to stomp a mud hole. And the Packers, the Jets really don't scare me. I know I'm looking ahead, but if we get to that bye week at 5-0, watch out. Watch out. I honestly, truly believe the high level of play is really not there along the league this year. I mean, there's only 5 undefeated teams left through 3 weeks, and usually there's a few more. I mean, something just feels right about this year, and I believe right now we're one of the best teams in the league. And
we're currently the 1 seed in the NFC. So
yeah, and I don't think we're slowing down. With that being said, let's keep rolling this tomorrow with the W. And Aubrey and Millie, if you're out there watching, Dad loves and misses you. Skull.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Let's go beat some cheeseheads.